Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Glad to see you here tonight. Blustery night here in Foggy Bottom. Tonight we're going to talk specifically about the feasibility analysis document that's part of the submission for the next round of the new venture competition. So this is a bit of a narrow cast. It's really geared to folks who are going to do that submission next week. But there's some general principles that'll be useful as well. I'm Lex McCusker. I'm here from the GW Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and recall that our mission is fourfold: innovation, education, venture creation, and connection. Tonight we're going to focus very much on venture creation, right? That's what you're here for. Recall that, just by way of background, this is part of the GW New Venture Competition. GW runs one of the largest collegiate entrepreneurship contests in the country. This year, combined cash and in-kind prizes will exceed $300,000. It's getting up there. GW, of course, gives that money out without any claims on your company. It's an outright grant to the company. And the first submission, and I guess all of you know this, was January 25th. Recall that the competition is in 3 tracks. Right? The majority of you will participate in the new venture track. That is a track where any commercial venture should be entered. But there are 2 other tracks, and if you are eligible for them, you should compete in them. The technology track is for companies that have some kind of proprietary technology. Right? So if you're using off-the-shelf technology, you're building a web app, probably don't want to compete in that track. But if you have some kind of proprietary technology, something that you've invented of your own, that's definitely the track for you. There is also a track for social ventures. So social doesn't mean social networking, right? It means social impact companies. So these are companies that have a social mission in addition to a financial mission, and in fact, the social mission has to be first among equals, at least, or more important than the commercial interest, right? So if you have a company and you give 5% of your profits go to feed the homeless, probably not a social venture, right? If you're social. So does everybody understand those 3 categories and the 3 distinctions? Some of you, I know, got feedback in the first round that you may have been in the wrong track. When you apply through UNoodle, you have to go back into UNoodle next week. It'll ask you again what track you want to be in. Be sure to tell it the right answer. Any questions on that? We got the tracks clear? Okay. Just some interesting statistics. From the 116 teams that entered, there were 185 GW students who entered. This is the breakdown. It's interesting. The School of Business has the most, which is historically the case, but far fewer than half. So more than half the participants come from other parts of GW. CCAS, Elliott School, and C's also have big representation. So clearly the point here is this is a GW-wide event. It's open to the entire community, and in fact, as I've said many times, you're probably sick of hearing it, having a team with multidisciplinary team members is a good thing. Generally, entrepreneurship is a team sport, so think about complementing yourself with people who have skills that you don't have, right? And it's not too late, of course, you will have to go through the UNoodle drill where you sign up the team and then you invite the team members. Remember doing this, right? Some of you did it at the last minute and it caused heartache. Start a little bit early. The website is open now. But it's not too late to change the composition of your team if you want to add. Yes, sir?
Of 203 applicants, 116 were selected?
No, 203 participants. So those are people. There were 116 teams that made up the 203.
So participants within the teams?
Yes. Participants are people. Teams are collections of people of one or more. Yeah? Okay. So just quickly go through eligibility. Eligibility matters. This is a GW student competition for new ventures, right? And so the restrictions around whether or not your team is eligible, up to 4 people, at least half have to be GW affiliated, student, faculty, staff, or alumni. there must be at least one student who has enrolled for at least 5 credits in this current academic year, right? And that student has to have a stakeholder interest, a shareholder interest in the company, right? And then it has to be a new venture, which is, and our definition of new is less than 2 years old and less than $200,000 in revenue. Right. Here's the timeline. I'm guessing you all know this, so I won't dwell on it too much longer. We are now at the second round submission, which is the feasibility analysis, the business model canvas, a concise summary, and a video. So here's a bit of a change. In earlier documents that we said that the video in this round was optional. We've changed that. The video is required in this round. Now, you can take the video you submitted in the first round and resubmit that. So I'm judging it's not going to be a big burden on anybody because you already have one. But you can update it if you want. If you've got feedback from the judges on your video, you might want to make a change. I've got to tell you, there were some entrants in the first round in which your video didn't load properly. It was either in a protected area, or for one reason or other, it couldn't be viewed by the judges. That will cost you in this round. Judges will score you down considerably if your video doesn't work. So take a few minutes, make sure your video is accessible, try it from different computers, make sure that the judges can see your video. I got to tell you that when the judges judge, they always look at the video, right? All right, enough said. This group, you're in the group of 100. We will get down to 36, 12 in each track. And then from then on, it's a pitch competition. So the next 2 rounds are pitching to a live audience of judges. All right. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our sponsors. Thank you very much to the Scotts, Ann and Rick Scott. Rick is the governor of Florida. They have been sponsors of the New Venture Competition since the very beginning. Without them, there would not be a New Venture Competition. We appreciate that. Strategic Investment Group is a financial management system that provides a lot of money. Blank Rome is a legal firm that provides in-kind services as well as the undergraduate prize. AARP Foundation provides the prize for the best venture that addresses the needs of the low-income elderly. You should definitely check out that prize. Quality Support, Inc. does the Veterans Prize, and Customer Value Partners does the Best Technology Prize. Lots and lots of in-kind prizes. I won't go through all of these, but you'll see all of the co-working spaces. You'll see lots of digital media companies. You'll see education, software development. One I will point out to you is Vistaprint Digital. Vistaprint Digital has just come on as a sponsor. Vistaprint is offering a free website to all 116 teams that enter. They have a build your own website software package, and they're offering it to anybody who has entered. We'll announce that probably next week. But all of you should take advantage of this offer, especially if you don't have a website. Right? All right. And of course, all the schools. We're very appreciative of the deans and all the schools at GW who provide support to make all of this possible. All right. So why enter? I guess you know that, right? Lots of money, lots of prizes, right? And you can see them up there. This year we've made a little bit of a difference. So there will be 4 winners in each of the tracks in the semifinals. So in the next round, we will give out prize money. We haven't done that in the past, so that's a little bit of a change. And then on April 20th is the Super Bowl, where the 4 winners in each track compete for the big prizes. All right, let's go quick. All right, round 2. 4 things to submit: your concise summary, the video, business model canvas, and the feasibility analysis. This, by the way, is generally the order in which the judges review your materials. So the 20-word summary matters. 20-word summary matters a lot. So don't shortchange that. Think hard about what that punchy little phrase is that tells people the product and service that you have, the problem you're solving, and who you're solving that problem for. All of those things should be captured in a pithy little saying. If you go on the website from last year, you can see lots of examples of what folks did in past years in this area. All right, 3 documents that describe the major submission, which is the 5 pages of text plus some supplements that we're calling the feasibility analysis. I'm going to go through. I'll start with the new venture feasibility analysis. because that's the prototype. And then I'll talk about the differences. There are some subtle differences between what you submit if you're in the technology track or you're in the social track. Yeah? Okay, so the criteria as laid out in there show you the kinds of questions you should answer in each of these categories, right? And here's how the weights that matter to them is kind of a rough guidance to how much space you should spend. Not perfect, but think hard about that. The first two are really the most important. They're foundational, right? So what is the opportunity you've uncovered? What is the problem you're going to solve? What is the discontinuity in the market? What is the compelling need that you have found that you are going to address? This is first and foremost. It's important that you write about this in a way that captivates the imagination and the interest of the judges, right? Don't exaggerate. Don't play fast and loose with the truth, but make a compelling statement in something on the order of a page, maybe a little less, about the problem you're solving, the insight that you've brought. What is it you've discovered that you're going to fix that maybe nobody else has? Yeah? And then what's your solution? Now, in the solution piece, you want to talk explicitly, and I advise you is use these words. Talk about the customer segments you are going to address, right? And then talk about the value proposition you have for each of those customer segments. Again, remember when we talked last time about the business model canvas, these are the two cells in the canvas that are by far the most important. They are foundational. The more understanding you have of those two things, the better you'll score, and the more judges will believe that your idea has potential to go forward, right? You don't have to have, needless to say, you don't have to have a working company. You don't have to have revenue. Many of the companies that are successful in this competition are still idea stage companies, but the thinking that goes into it is what really matters. And it's especially important to hit customer segments and value propositions. Also, in this section, make sure you're really clear about what your product or service is. Right? So set aside a couple of sentences, a paragraph that clearly defines your product and service, and make sure you are unambiguous about the status of your product or service and the status of your venture. Right? So here's a place where people get in trouble. They talk in kind of a funny future present tense. So the XYZ system brings together buyers and sellers who are looking to get to do business in used cars. I don't know if that means you got one now and it's working, or you're going to do it in the future. So be crystal clear about what state you're in. And again, it's okay to be in the idea stage. Right? If you have built a prototype, say so. If you've got something that you're launched now and you're collecting revenue, say so. If you intend to, you have a plan that says you're going to launch it August 1st, say so. But be really clear about what state you're in. Did everybody get that? This is really important. It's really important. It is terribly annoying to judges. So let me tell you a secret, right? Judges read a lot of these things. They get cranky, like late at night when they're doing this. And if they think you're just being sloppy, then it annoys them. If they think you're being deceptive, that you're purposely trying to fuzz up things, then they get vindictive. It's human nature, right? Be clear, be unambiguous. Make it obvious to an outsider what you're up to. Everybody with me? Yes, ma'am, please. Oh, wait. The catch box. You ready for this?
I don't have my glasses on.
Worse for the people sitting next to you, I'll tell you. So this is our microphone system. I need this because we're recording this and we want the people who watch this tomorrow to know how to get it. So here we go. I know how Tom Brady felt in the Super Bowl, huh? Okay,
Hello.
go.
Okay. So would you say a better vocabulary to use is like, my venture has the potential to go ahead and do these things, or do you think it's better to say my venture will address these things? Because then it sort of plants a sort of doubt that you're not confident enough that you'll do it. But like in terms of that, what would you suggest that we use instead?
What a great question. And I'm going to give you a very unsatisfying answer. So judges want to think that you're realistic about your venture and what the prospects are. And they do like to see that you understand that there's uncertainties, right? Remember the definition of a startup, right? Anybody other than Diane can shout up what's a startup?
Missing a business model.
Who has a definition of a startup? Oh, come on, we do this every week. Come on, Roland?
It's a temporary organization in search of a business model.
Search of a business model, right? You're a research project. You're looking for answers. And the judges want to know that you know that. Now, here's why it's unsatisfying. They do want you to be confident. So they do want you to say, we understand there are uncertainties, but doggone it, we're going to launch on October 1st, and this is going to be a $10 million company in 5 years. Yeah? I'm open. All right. Thank you for that question. Excellent question. Yes, sir.
As far as linkage for products that are already available, is this the good position for them to be in? Just like actual product links if it's out there in the market?
I got to tell you that I had trouble hearing you because of the echo in that stupid box thing. Just hold it a little farther away.
Links for products that are already available. So if my product is already in the market, is this a good spot to have?
Yeah, so thank you. Another good question. The more real you are, the better, right? And remember, we talked about traction in the marketplace. The reason that the single most common reason why startups fail is give that man the box so he can shout that answer out. Is that Ranjan?
There's no need for it.
Yeah, they build something there's no need for, right, that nobody wants in the marketplace. So one of the things they're always looking for is evidence of traction in the marketplace. Now, if you don't have a product, how are you going to get traction in the marketplace? Well, the answer is you go out and talk to those customers, you interview them, you get testimonials. A great way to show that you have traction in the marketplace is to have products in the marketplace that are selling, right? So be sure to talk about what you're doing and what's real and what you've got out there right now.
So like the Unoodle open like free form input allows for like links outside.
So you're going to, we're jumping ahead of it, but you're going to upload a document into Unoodle. And so this submission is not like last time where you did cut and paste into the form. You're going to prepare your feasibility analysis document and just upload the whole document. All right? So put links in the document is what I'm saying. Yeah? Okay. This thing moved on me, huh? Okay. Next one is the operation plans. You recognize these. These are the key activities, key resources, key partnerships. Talk about how you're going to run the business. For many of you, it's very early, and it's okay to go light on this. Say, no, we're going to have a web-based marketing system, right? We're going to sell through the internet. Don't bluff, don't pretend. If you don't know, you don't know, right? And for some of you, it's going to be really early to be worrying about some of this stuff. But if you need intellectual property that you don't have, then you should definitely be listing that as a key resource or a key partnership, right? If there are people, if there are things you need, there are skills you need, you want to make sure you very clearly that you've listed those as key resources. Be clear about that handful of things that you've got to be really good at, right? What else? Financial analysis. This varies a fair amount with how far along you are, right? So if you have an operating business and you're in business now, you've got tangible revenue, you've got a revenue history, then your financial analysis should be fairly detailed. For all of you, you want some kind of a profit and loss statement. Right? Again, if you're in the marketplace, it should be fairly detailed. If you're not, if you're still in the idea stage, then it'll be what's called a pro forma income statement, a projection of future, and keep it simple, right? You have revenue minus costs equals profit. It can be as simple as that. It should probably go out 3 years. Sometimes people go out 5 years. I don't think that's necessary, but use your judgment. It's sometimes a good idea to be more detailed in the first year, so you could do monthly or quarterly, and then the subsequent years do annual. Something like that is okay. Just some other quick advice. What's called bottom-up revenue projections are always best. So tell me a story about how many units you're going to sell and how many salespeople it takes to do that, how many people have to come to your website, and what your conversion rate you think is going to be, and then how that grows over the years. And if revenue doesn't come magically, right, there's always cost associated with a sales force or marketing expense or web development expense. So you should have some kind of a track that shows your costs rising appropriately, right? In general, the standard model is you lose money to start, right? Because you've got to invest up front before the revenue starts to come in. So it's perfectly okay to say, look, we're going to lose money for the first 2 years. Eventually, I do want to see those charts flip over. I do want to see you become profitable at some point, right? Because no investor is going to pay for all your extravagances forever. But if you need money to start, that's fine. So if you go into the whole $50,000, $100,000 the first 2 years, that's what startups do, right? So don't be afraid to show a loss in the early years, but recognize that that's going to happen. Yeah? So by and large, you should have a P&L statement, something on the order of a page. You should probably have some kind of a detailed list of your costs. That's a nice thing to have. Think about a break-even analysis, like at what point do your costs, your revenues exceed your cost, when you can start to become self-funding. Judges will care a lot about when that point is going to be. So those are the sorts of things you should put in this section. Don't go crazy about it. Don't agonize over this. For most of you, this is early enough that you want something that's directionally correct. All right? Now, judging from the expressions on the faces which have turned sour, I'm guessing there are some questions on this. Yes, ma'am. Hang on. Are you open? Oh, intercepted. Jeez. A pick.
So if we're already in business and we've already been in business for almost a year, do we have to do kind of the past year and then an additional 3 years, or is it just 3 years total?
So 3 years into the future is what I'm looking for.
Okay, perfect.
And-
How exactly are we supposed to gauge that? If there's no market research out there to help us do that?
So don't bluff. Don't say things you don't know. But if you have a track record, it sounds like you do, right? You've been selling some stuff. So you're going to have a chart which on the left side, the numbers are in blue, and then, at some point, they become forecasts, right? So you're going to actually have one that combines those two.
Okay, so we should.
And I'm looking for you from a story about how you're going to continue to grow your sales and how your expenses as a % of sales starts to decrease.
Okay.
Is that helping?
Yep. So I shouldn't double it, but I shouldn't third it. I don't know. All right. You ready?
That thing echoes and I don't hear very well. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So I shouldn't because it was our first year, so it stands to reason we could double in our second year. So should I just half it?
I whisper.
I'm sorry.
It's not you. It's me.
Oh,
Go.
since it's our second year, it stands to reason we could double what we made in our first year, just because of the market we're in. Should I just half it, or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So she's saying, look, we've been in the market a couple of years. We're just going to say we'll double it next year. Did you double it last year?
This is our first year.
Okay. So the answer to that is no. Simple answer. The flat-out answer is no. That's what is typically called top-down revenue projection, where you say, oh, that's $1 billion market, and we can easily get 1%. Anybody can get 1%, right? So we're going to be a $100 million company. Well, there's no guarantee that you're going to get 1%. Sounds easy? You might get 0%. I don't know that. Will you double? I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe that. That to me sounds like a number pulled out of the air or some other place, right? So what I'd rather see is a story that says, okay, it takes 1,000 people have to come to our website to get 100 sales. And so we're going to spend this much on search engine optimization and Google AdWords so that we can drive traffic to the site and maintain that conversion rate. And so as we spend more on marketing, we'll get more eyeballs, we'll get more conversions, we'll get more revenue. Something like that, right? Or I have to send a salesman to a conference. We know from the last 2 conferences that when we go, we talk to 30 people and 10 of them actually sign up for our service. So we plan to go to 25 conferences over the next 9 months, and here's the name of those conferences, and we're going to send people to them, so we believe we can convert at that same rate, blah, 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 and now we're going to get, that's what I'm calling a bottom-up analysis, right? I want to see P times Q, right? How many products times, the cost of the product times how many you're going to sell. Everybody get that? That's an important concept, and I appreciate the answer. Good, throw it over here, then I don't have to get involved. Oh, nicely done.
And what about for social ventures that haven't had a really developed financial model quite yet?
So, another great question. We'll talk a little bit about the impact metrics for social ventures, because so people start saying, oh, it's easy for social because I'm just going to do good stuff and I care, people will love me. Turns out not to be the case in this competition. I mean, that may be true in general, but the judges are going to look harder at your financials because they want to be convinced that your social venture, for all the good it's doing, is going to be financially viable. Because the last thing you want is a great social venture that crashes and burns because it can't pay the bills, right? So you're going to have to do the same kind of thing where there's money coming in, there's expenses, and there's some money left over to keep the thing going, right? Now that money might be donations from foundations, right? It might be contributions from tax organizations. But you have to have that. Now you're going to also have to have the social impact metrics, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you've got to have two sets of books, I'm sorry to say. All right, let's press on. Finally is the management team. This is very much like what you did in the early rounds. Talk about judges. Remember that the judges judge the idea or the team. The team, right? You bet on the jockey, not on the horse. So they very much want to know about you, right? They want to know about the relevant skills you have in this area. They want to know about any experience you have as an entrepreneur, right? They want to judge your passion, right? So if this matters to you a whole lot, and you're going to really go for this, make that clear to the judges. I mean, you can do that in your video a little bit, but talk about where you're headed with this. If you don't have skills that you really need, where is that thing? Say so. The worst thing you can do is not know that you don't have skills you need, right? That will cost you points. I'll get you in a minute, and that'll judge to be that you're stupid or naive. Maybe too harsh, but you get the point here, right? So nobody expects you to have all the skills you need. But recognize that there are gaps, and you're going to have to acquire them, right? So if you need a sales force, if your product or service gets sold by somebody who goes and knocks on doors or goes to trade shows and you don't have a salesperson on your team, say you're going to acquire one. You need one, you're going to acquire it in 6 months, you're going to acquire it in a year, right? I think that's it. All right, the catch ball has to go in the back. We got, go ahead, I'm open. It's the hook and lateral. All right. There you go.
Okay, regarding the management team, if we have critical partners that have said, yes, they would join us in this venture, but we may structure it as a contract, or, they may not be, a member of the team, but should we include, like, key partners in the management team?
So strictly speaking, no. So key partners are people outside of the company that you're going to engage in some commercial way.
Okay.
But you should include people who are on your board of advisors, any mentors that have volunteered to work with you. The resources can be in the management team or they can be employees, right? So
So if the heads of the different organizations that we're going to be contracting with have agreed to be advisors, then they could be sort of an advisory board, and you would list them in that context?
So it's really smart if you have an advisory board, if you have experienced people in the industry who know this stuff and who have volunteered, or even if you're paying them. I wouldn't pay them if I were you, but if they are working with you on some regular basis, meeting with you monthly or quarterly, then by all means list them in this section. Yeah?
In the team management.
Yeah. Nicely done. Watch out for that coffee.
Yeah, we should list them in the management team, right?
Say again?
In the management team, not in the partners in the operations plan.
Yeah, no. If you've got an arrangement with some other company or some other individual, and this is a commercial arrangement of some sort, where you're licensing their intellectual property, or you are doing joint sales calls, or they are providing you space because a manufacturing space or something, that's a commercial arrangement. That's operations and that's key partners. Anybody who is part of your company, either as an employee or as one of the owners of the management team, or as an advisor, or as a mentor, that goes in here into the management team. Yeah?
Okay, what if one of our key partners is also one of our clients?
Is also a
They're
client?
both. Yeah, they're both.
Yeah, so there's lots of those kind of, it gets complicated, right? I get that you have that sort of stuff.
Should we write it down in both?
I would talk about that maybe in your, oh boy. I don't know. Whatever you do will be fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, just make it clear that it's because it doesn't easily fit because they're both customers, they're partners, they're collaborators. They put them someplace where you have a little space. But that's a great question. Thank you. All right. All right. So you got the basic structure and how the points are allocated. Think about how you allocate the pages that way, right? Don't put all your pages on any one category. You got to cover them all. All right. Let's talk about the technology ventures. Same structure, same weights, one difference. And I've highlighted in red. In that first section, you got to talk about your technology. What is your secret sauce? Now, it doesn't have to be patentable. It could be a trade secret. It could be algorithms that you've built up over the years. It could conceivably be a database. You may have a collection of intellectual property that nobody else has. But be sure you put in that first section half a page or so about your technology. That's the only difference. Everybody with me? No big deal there. Now, the socials. So we've inserted, what you see is there's a third category. Category number 3 has been inserted in the social ventures, and we touched on this a little bit. Stole some weight from opportunity and solution, though in fact those are the same content. Recall that social ventures have 2 missions, right? There's your impact mission and your financial mission. You have to talk about how you're going to measure your social impact, right? So if your social mission is to help ex-convicts find jobs, then I want to see how you're going to measure the number of ex-convicts that you help in your mission and how many of them actually find jobs. It's not rocket science, but that's going to be as important to you and your investors as your financial performance, right? So think hard about this. If you look in the document in the social entrepreneurship, there's a reference to a couple of websites that do a really nice job of this, that lay out taxonomies of potential metrics, the things that you might measure for social impact. But clearly, you got 15% of your weight is on how you're going to measure that social impact. Everybody got it? Question over there. What happened to my microphone? Nah, because I got to get it on the video. Thank you.
So my question, when you're measuring social impact, do you take into account just, say for like this investment or this level of donation, here's what we can create in terms of your example, putting people back to work, the value they create. Can you also take into account maybe burden that you alleviate on existing systems or social support systems?
I think the simple answer is yes.
Okay.
But remember, remember in your business model canvas, you've got customer segments and value propositions, right? If you've got a social venture, you're probably going to have a segment or two that cares very deeply about that social mission, right? So if you are providing shelter to the homeless, right, there are people who will care about that, and they have a value proposition just like a paying customer. So just as if you've got a web app for delivering pizzas to the dormitories, you probably should go talk to students and find out what their value proposition is around that. If you've got a social venture, there's a constituency for that social impact as well, and you should go interview them and make sure you understand what matters to them and how they measure social impact. It's especially true if you have a nonprofit, a not-for-profit social venture, right? So if your money is going to come from agencies, from government agencies or charitable organizations that pay for this, go ask them what they measure, how they judge success, and make darn sure that you're measuring it the same way they are. Is that responsive to your question?
I mean, partially. So you take your example of putting people back to work.
Yep.
You can say they're out there making, these wages, X wages.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also say, that takes them off of unemployment or off of, whatever. If they have health care now, you're taking them off of free health care. Can you use that as well?
Sure.
The increase you're doing as well as decreasing them off of like handout systems.
Yeah, absolutely. In that particular case, I would measure all of those things
Okay.
and claim those as part of the social impact that we're going to have going forward.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense to me. All right. Seeing no questions, he moves on. All right. This is now nuts and bolts, and I'm going to take a small hit for this because several of you pointed out to me earlier this week there were some inconsistencies on our website and on UNoodle, and I apologize for that. We changed some of this in midstream and didn't get all of it cleaned up. This is in fact the answer, and every source we have now is consistent and aligned, and I apologize for any confusion we caused about this. But here's the deal. The submission of this feasibility analysis document is up to 8 pages. It breaks down into 5 pages of text. Right? You may also add to that 2 pages of financials. Right? So in the text part, I would write a narrative about your financials. Right? We're going to grow revenue up to $200,000 a year over the next 5 years. Our cost as a percentage of revenue will decrease to where we have a gross margin of over 60%. We break even in the fall of 2018. Our biggest expense is going to be that we hire lots of salespeople. That's the sort of narrative, right? And then you might then track that in an Excel spreadsheet or a chart that you put in this appendix. Clear on how to use that? So use the appendix to supplement the text. You'll be able to write a little less, right? And point out the highlights in the text, right? Remember, the investors want to see how deep are you going to go into the hole, right? Because that tells them how much money has to be put into the venture. They want to know when you're going to break even, and they want to see how big the company's going to get over the next 3-5 years or so. So those are the kind of things that you would highlight in the text part of your feasibility analysis, supplemented with 2 pages of charts or tables. One other page, the 8th page, you can have some kind of visual. So some of you have screenshots, or you have a product you want to sell, or pictures of your mother. I don't know. Anything that's not text, you can put in this last 8th page. All right? Everybody got it? 5 pages of text, 2 pages of financials, 1 page of some kind of visual. Yeah? Cover page and the table of contents don't count in the page counts. I can tell you it's sort of nice to put those in when you're reading these things and you're reading a lot of them. Having it look nice and having a table of contents is not a have to have by any means, but it's nice to have, and it doesn't count against your page count. Crystal clear? Everybody got this? Okay. More mechanics. Now, boy, this is really nits and lice, but please do this. Arial, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, double spaced. You can use smaller font if you want on the charts. Word document is the best format. If you do a PDF, it's probably okay. Word is better. This naming convention makes it a lot easier for us. I mean, I know this. You're working on big issues and you got a lot on your plate, and this kind of minutia seems like it's kind of Mickey Mouse, and I understand that, but try to put the name of your company .doc. That helps us to sort and find things and not lose them. Yeah. All right. The submission site is open. It's UNoodle again. You've got until noontime on the 23rd. You've all done this once because you survived the first round. You can go in a bunch of times. You can put parts in. You can revise, right? And keep doing it. Call our office. Call Tengiz. Call Jasmine, right? If you need help. Remember, there's this, which I think is annoying in UNoodle, but I can't get them to change it, right? You got to go in and put your team leader has to go in and sign up first, and then you invite the team members, which can really be annoying, and it can take time. So, like, do that now, right? Go in and fill out that kind of stuff. And yes, you will have to refill out some of the personal stuff, like what school you're in and your GWID and all that crap. I'm sorry, but got to do that again. All right. You are here. Feasibility analysis is 2 more workshops. One on because in the next round the requirements for the financials get cranked up. So if you make it to the next round, you're going to have to do more on financials, and we'll do a workshop on pitching to investors. Yes, sir.
I had a question about the recommenders, recommenders list that we had to email certain recommendations on there.
I'm not hearing you well, and I'm not following any of it.
On UNoodle, there is a portion where you put the recommendation.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly
Is that visible? It shouldn't be visible to you guys.
It is visible. I mean, I see it.
Well, let me go look. It's a feature that UNoodle has that we don't use, and I thought we had configured the thing so that that wouldn't show up. But yeah, don't worry about that. Oh, we have another question. Yes, ma'am. There we go, getting better at this.
Hello. All right. I just had a question about having like a references page or like a works cited page, especially with ventures that use a lot of data from surveys and such from different companies. What would you like us to do? Would you like us to in-text cite or like embed a link or have a references page?
My advice to you is not to use up a lot of your precious real estate on citations.
Okay.
So keep it, I'll take your word for it. I mean, so not a full citation, but if you say, a study from the National Labor Relations Board says, or a 2012 study from the National Labor Relations Board says that XYZ is true,
Perfect.
That's enough of a citation.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. All right, team. I was hoping for some in the back to get open. I could really wind up here. All right. Anything else? Questions? That's my contact information, right? Nobody's shy about calling me. If I don't want to pick up the phone, I won't. But you can email me anytime. Last call. Questions, comments? Last word? Was this the greatest presentation of all time? I want to be the GOAT of the... Are you open? I'm going to hit that lamp, and then I'll get charged for it, and I'll get... All right. I think we're done. I'll stay around for a few minutes. Anybody wants to do any specific questions? Carl's in the back. I see him there. Go forth and do good work.